Come in.
Hi Julie, how are you doing?
Oh, hi Jake. I'm fine. What's up?
Well, it's a pretty day. I thought we might go for a walk.
Okay. Sounds good. What a nice view.
I thought you might like it.
So, what have you been doing with yourself lately?
Oh, the usual: work, study, and then church on Sunday.
I see. Well, sounds like you've been keeping busy.
That's the truth. But I'd still like to find some time to spend with you, if I could.
Well, we're here together, now.
I know, I'm really enjoying it, but I was hoping you could come to church with me this Sunday.
Jake, you know that I'm an atheist, so I don't go to church, and even if I said yes, what would the people there say when they find out?
Our church is all about reaching out to non-believers. And maybe, after you hear the preacher, and understand more about Christianity, you might come to believe.
Jake, it's you who don't understand. I know all about Christianity. I was brought up in a Christian household, by believers. I've been to church many times, and I've studied different religions and have come to the conclusion that God, and indeed all supernatural beings, don't really exist. To me they are just myths, handed down from generation to generation, without any foundation in reality.
Julie, you know I like you very much, and I thought that maybe, if you could just try to believe. Have you ever heard of Pascal's Wager? Back in the 1600s, philosopher Blaise Pascal said that if you believe in God and you're wrong, you really haven't lost anything. But if you believe in God and you're right, you get to go to heaven and live forever. But if you don't believe, and you're wrong, you go to hell, and suffer for eternity. I don't want that to happen to you. I care for you, and I worry about you.
Oh Jake, I really appreciate your concern, and I truly understand it, but this is really an example of a little knowledge being a dangerous thing.
What do you mean?
Well, you know how I said I studied various religions?
Yeah.
Well, I also studied anti-apologetics as well. Many atheists do. It gives them the knowledge to counter arguments like that. Where did you hear about Pascal's Wager?
My preacher mentioned it to me during a time when I was wavering in my faith. It made a lot of sense to me, and I thought it might help you as well.
Well, your preacher may or may not know the answers to Pascal's Wager, but he could be holding them back from you to keep you in the fold. Would you like to hear them?
Okay, I get. I tell you what. Let's get something to eat, and we can talk about it afterwards. Okay?
Okay. Thank you, Jake. That was a lovely dinner. And the ambience here is very nice.
You're welcome, Julie. I enjoyed it myself.
So, are you ready to talk about Pascal's Wager?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. First, Pascal was assuming that the God of Christianity, that is the God of his culture, was the one and only true God. But if he had grown up in any one of 1,000 other cultures, it could have been any one of 1,000 gods. Which one is the right one? They all claim to be right. Or what if you just happen to be born into the wrong culture, what then? And what if you choose the wrong sect of the right religion? There are over 30,000 Christian sects in America alone. Your own Christian denomination says that all the others are wrong, and vice versa. Right?
Yeah. That's right.
Okay, and I'm convinced that God is truly not real. You can't just turn belief on and off like a light. You believe things based on being convinced of their truth. Do you think you could make yourself believe something if you really don't? Like, do you think you could make yourself believe you have $1 million?
No.
And have you ever wondered why belief, itself, is the criteria for entry into heaven? You always hear that to get to heaven you need to be good. But you know that any ex-murderer or psychopath on death row, who believes at the last minute, gets to go to heaven. But even if I did pretend to believe, in order to get by the wager, do you think that for one instance, an omniscient God wouldn't know that I really didn't believe?
No. I guess not.
Also, you couldn't just believe in God, I would also have to believe in the resurrection of Jesus Christ. that someone died a violent death, was dead for 3 days, and then returned to life, as a god. Right?
That's right.
Then your preachers would demand that I accept the whole religious package. In Christianity, that would mean I would also have to believe in angels, demons, Satan, heaven, hell, saints, sin, prophets, miracles, cherubim, etc. Right?
Right, probably.
And, by doing so, it would mean putting those preachers in a power position over me, allowing them to dictate not only my beliefs, but my actions, even down to the way I dress.
Right.
And the second part of Pascal's Wager says that if there is no God, you haven't lost anything by worshipping him. That's simply not true.
Why? I don't understand.
At the very least, you have lost the money that you give the church. Do you give according to an approved church schedule?
Yeah.
Then that would be an appreciable portion of your wages, isn't it?
Yes, that's true. But the church uses that money for charity work.
Does it? That's what they tell you, but have you ever gone to the trouble to verify it?
Well, they keep that kind of information to themselves.
And how much more effective would that money be if given to an approved secular charitable organization, I wonder? Maybe like the Red Cross, or Doctors Without Borders.
You're probably right.
And that's just the money. How much time and energy do you sacrifice daily to studying the Bible, and the other details of your religion, and discussing it with other believers? And how much guilt is associated with your religion? Guilt that is absolutely unnecessary. And how much stress is generated by that guilt? Also, believing in a God that never shows himself means that you have a preacher telling you what God wants of you. That's very convenient for the preacher, don't you think? And in worst-case scenarios, accepting these outlandish religious beliefs could cause you or your child to be abused by these holy men, to go off to enlist and die in a holy war. And in some religions, you could actually be convinced to blow yourself up in an attempt to kill infidels.
Wow, I never thought of it that way. Belief in God does have some very real consequences. I'll have to do some serious thinking about this. But I don't want to make a mistake where my eternal soul is concerned.
But that's at the very center of all of this. The very existence of souls themselves have never been proven. There's no evidence that any part of us continues to live after death. First, the church tells you that souls are real, so you'll worry about where yours goes when you die. Then they invent hell and original sin, so you'll believe your soul is doomed. Then they invent and sell you the cure for all of it. And without a shred of evidence for any of it. Now can you begin to understand where atheists are coming from?
Yeah, I never thought of it like that before.
But at the center of this is fear. Truthfully, wasn't it the fear component of the wager that actually convinced you to buy into it?
Looking back on it, yes. I guess that is what got to me about it.
So you can see that Pascal's Wager is really just a threat.
Yes, I can see that now, but I really was just worried about you. I'm sorry.
I understand, I know you were. And that's very kind, but when you realize that hell is the consequence of a few religions out of thousands of religions the world over, none of which have evidence to support them, you can see that it's just silly. And all of this has been handed down from generation to generation for thousands of years. It's time to leave it all behind.
Well, I'm seeing all of this in a new light. I don't know what to make of it right now, but I'm really glad to have heard all of this from you. And it really has been a lovely day. Thanks, Julie.
Thank you, Jake, I enjoyed it too.